Hello students, the next topic of the first chapter, reproduction in organisms, is the sexual reproduction in organisms. In this chapter, I have already noted here some of the important terminology related to the sexual reproduction in organisms. And I request you all to take a pen and a notebook and note down all these technical terms. And these technical terms are very, very useful regarding your board examination, as well as to know this chapter in a better way, this topic in a better way. So in the sexual reproduction in organisms, so many technical terms are there in the NCERT book. The first one is the juvenile phase or vegetative phase. What do you mean by juvenile phase or vegetative phase? Actually, the juvenile phase is the phase in which all the growth of the individuals after birth till it reaches the sexual maturity. So juvenile phase is the phase of an individual which starts after the birth and it's get over till the individual reaches the sexual maturity. The juvenile phase in plants are also known as vegetative phase. Actually, in the plant, it is called vegetative phase. Vegetative phase in the plants, you can understand properly that when you germinate the seeds germinates, and before the flowering, means the germination till the flower comes, this stage is called vegetative phase. Now the reproductive phase. What do you mean by reproductive phase? The reproductive phase is the phase of the organisms in which they start reproducing sexually. The juvenile phase, or you can say the vegetative phase, is just followed by which phase? Reproductive phase, in which the organisms start reproducing sexually. After the reproductive phase, the next phase comes in the living organism, and that is called senescence phase. The senescence phase is the old age in which the organisms grow old and they also lose the ability to reproduce. And senescence phase leads to the death of the organism. It's a very, you can say, the last stage, you can say, of any organism, very extreme old condition, is called senescence phase, which is followed by the death of an individual. Now, on the basis of the breeding, that the individuals they breed throughout their life or not, on the basis of the duration of the time of the breeding, the animals are classified into two groups: continuous breeders, and the second one is the seasonal breeders. What do you mean by continuous breeders? The continuous breeders are the organisms who breed throughout their life. For example, human beings. The seasonal breeders means some of the animals, you can see the dogs, birds, frogs, lizards, they breed, or you can say they reproduce only during the certain period in the reproductive cycle. They are not continuous breeder. They do not reproduce throughout the year, throughout their lifetime, but in a particular duration they breed, and they are known as seasonal breeders. And you know, in the case of animals, including human beings, there are so many changes occur during the reproductive cycle. The reproductive organs, that is ovary, testes, in the case of female and male respectively, they start producing the gametes. Other changes also takes place in the accessory ducts. Some of the hormones are secreted during the reproductive cycle, and a lot of changes occurs. So on the basis of the change in the reproductive organs, the animals are classified into two groups on the basis of the cycle. Some of the animals, they follow Estrus cycle, like dogs, tigers, cows, rats, sheep, deers, etc. All they are non-primates. And they follow what? Estrus cycle. And the primates, monkey, apes, human beings, they follow what? Menstrual cycle. What are the differences between the estrus cycle and menstrual cycle? Let me to define. Actually, in estrus cycle, there is a strong urge of the sex. A heat period comes in these animals in which they prefer the copulation. But in menstrual cycle, there is no heat period, and in all the stages, the human female can prefer the sexual reproduction. The estrus cycle lasts for very few days, but menstrual cycle, it lasts for many days. This cycle has not so many stages, but the menstrual cycle has so many phases, like menstrual phase, follicular phase, or you can say proliferative phase, luteal phase, or secretory phase, and menstrual phase. But all these stages are absent in estrus cycle. In estrus cycle, there is no rupturing of the wall of endometrial uterus wall. Do not rupture, and hence there is no bleeding. But in menstrual cycle, in the menstrual phase, especially the endometrial linings of the uterus get ruptured and snatched off in the form of blood. So overall, in estrus cycle takes place in non-primates, and menstrual cycle takes place in primates, including monkeys, apes, and human beings. Now, some other topics are there. Homothallic or monoecious. What do you mean by homothallic or monoecious? Monoecious means the plant having both of the sex organs, that is male and female. If male and female, both the reproductive organs are present on the same plant, the plant is said to be what? Monoecious. It is also known as homothallic. This term generally we use in the case of fungus. If the same mycelium has both of the parts, male and female, both on the same mycelium, same body, the body is said to be what? Homothallic. So homothallic or monoecious means the organisms having both of the sex organs, that is male and female. I have written here some examples. Example, Cara. This is a type of algae, and all the cucurbits, the pumpkin and bitter gourd, all they are included in this family Cucurbitaceae. So cucurbita, coconuts are also monoecious plant. The second one is the heterothallic, or you can say dioecious. Dioecious means the male and female plants are separated to each other. Either the plant is male or the plant is female, but the male and female sex organs are present on the different plants, and this condition in the plant is known as dioecious condition. In the case of fungus, we use the term heterothallic condition. Actually, this term heterothallic condition was given by a scientist. His name was Blacksley, and he used this term for some of the fungus like Rhizopus, in which the male and female, both the mycelium were separated, plus and minus strain. Heterothallic means both the thallus, both the body, they are different to each other. One thallus acts as the male, I have denoted here positive sign, and one is the negative sign. So heterothallic condition, either homothallic condition, generally we use these terms for the fungus, for the lower organisms, and the monoecious and dioecious. These terms generally we use for the plants. Dioecious, you can see here some of the plants. Bryophyte, Markensia. The Markensia is a bryophyte in which the male and female, both they are separated to each other. These plants are also dioecious, male and female, both they are separated. Papaya and date palm also. The same like bisexual animals and unisexual animals. What do you mean by bisexual animals? The animals having both of the sex organs on the same individual, and this condition is called bisexual animals. Like sponges, tapeworm, leeches, these animals are bisexual animals. Means both of the sex organs are present in the same individual. Unisexual animals, male and female, both are separated to each other, like human beings, cockroaches, etc. Actually, these examples are given in your NCERT. So, I have already written here, and you note down these examples are very, very important regarding your examination. Staminate flower and pistillate flowers. The unisexual male flower in the plant, it is called staminate flower. Means the flower, the unisexual flower having stamens is called staminate flowers. And the unisexual female flower is known as pistillate flower. These two are applicable for the unisexual and bisexual flower. What do you mean by the bisexual flowers? Bisexual flowers means the flower containing both of the sex organs, that is male and female. It means stamens and carpels both are present within the same flower. Example, pea, China rose, mustard. These plants are having the bisexual flower. The unisexual flower means the flower, either it is male or female, but both the sex organs, they are present on the different flower like rice, wheat, watermelon, papaya, etc. These plants are unisexual flower. So all these are the technical terms. Now I will start the events of the sexual reproduction in organisms. Now the next topic is events in sexual reproduction. There are three events in the sexual reproduction in organisms, and these events are pre-fertilization, fertilization and post-fertilization events. What do you mean by pre-fertilization events? Pre-fertilization event means all the events which take place before the fertilization. It includes gametogenesis and gamete transfer. The second one is the fertilization, and the last one is the post-fertilization. After fertilization, you will study about that how zygote is formed and how from the zygote the embryo develops and how embryo gives rise to the new plant. So let us start with the first one, pre-fertilization, that is gametogenesis. This one, gametogenesis. What is gametogenesis? Genesis means production and gameto means gametes. Gametogenesis is the process of the production of gametes. The gametes, as you know, are like in the case of human being, the sperms are known as gametes. Ovum is also gamete. In plants also, these gametes are produced, and gametes, they fuse together to form zygote. So gametogenesis is the process of the production of gametes. If the in lower plants, you can see here the male and female gametes both are morphologically similar, and these gametes are known as isogametes. You can see here both the gametes. One gamete acts as the male, while the another gamete acts as the female. Morphologically same. Morphologically both are same, but physiologically they are different. One acts as the male and the another acts as the female. So these two gametes are isogametes. It is also known as homogametes. Now, in the case of human being, you can see here, this one is the male gamete, sperm, and this one is the female gamete. Both they are not identical. These two gametes are known as collectively heterogametes. Heterogametes means the non-identical gametes are known as heterogametes. In this case, the male gamete is motile. Here, both the gametes are motile, means they can move. But here, the male gamete is motile. You can see the sperm is motile, it can move. But female gamete is non-motile. The ovum do not move. It is stationary. So, these two gametes are collectively called heterogametes. These two non-identical gametes are collectively known as heterogametes. In the case of bryophytes, the male gamete is known as, this is also the condition in the case of bryophyte. This is the male gamete, which is motile, antherozoites, and this one is the female gamete, and this is also heterogametes. Like in the case of Markensia, the male gamete is motile and the female gamete is non-motile, and both are non-identical also. This is also known as heterogametic condition. These two are heterogametes, like in the case of bryophyte Markensia. So these two diagrams are showing heterogametic condition, and this one is the condition for isogametes. Now, the next heading is gamete transfer. What do you mean by gamete transfer? The gamete transfer means, now there is a question that if the plants are dioecious, then how the gametes are transferred from male plant to the female plant? In the case of algae, bryophyte, pteridophytes, in lower plants you can say the male gametes are motile and they can move towards the female gamete with the help of water current. You can see here, this is the structure of Markensia. This is the male reproductive organ. This is called antheridium. This one is the female reproductive organ, archegonium. Example, Markensia. Antheridium produces antherozoites, or you can say male gametes. The antherozoites, when the antheridium ruptures, the antherozoites comes outside, and where it comes? It comes inside the archegonium, which contains egg. As I told you, in this case, egg is non-motile. It is stationary, fixed, unable to move. But here, the antherozoites can move from one place to the another place. But the condition is water is required. Without water, the male gametes do not move towards the female gamete. That's why amphibians, even the pteridophytes, they need water, and without water the process of fertilization doesn't occur. So through the water, all the antherozoites, they come outside and they go to the female gamete and they fuse with the egg. So how the gamete is transferred from the male and female? Through the water current. And in this condition also, the number of male gametes which are produced are too much. Why the number of gametes are more? To increase the chance of fertilization, because some of the male gametes, they are unable to fuse, they move towards the wrong direction. At least so few antherozoites will come to the archegonium and they can fuse together. In the case of higher plant, like in gymnosperm and angiosperm, the gametes are transferred from male plant to the female plant through the pollination. In the lower classes, you have already studied about the pollination. As you know, the pollination is the process of the transfer of pollen grains from one plant to the another plant. This is called cross pollination. If pollination takes place within the same plant, this is called self pollination. Through the air current, the pollen grains can be transferred from one plant to the another plant. This is called anemophily. The insects are also the good pollinators. The water is also act as the agent to transfer the pollen grain from one plant to the another plant. So in the higher plants, the gametes are transferred from one plant to the another plant with the help of so many agents, whether it is called air, water, birds, animals, etc. Now, the next heading is fertilization. What is fertilization? Fertilization is the process of the fusion of male and female gametes. In the case of plant, as you know, when the pollen grains, they are fallen down on the stigma. You can see here, this is the stigma. Anther, filament. This is the stamen. Anther produces pollen grains, and pollen grains, it comes where? On the stigma. Then the pollen grains, it forms pollen tube. As you know, ovary contains ovule, and ovule contains egg. Other cells are also there. I will teach you later on in detail. And this pollen tube enters inside the embryo sac, and finally the male gamete fuses with egg to form zygote. So, in the case of plant, the pollen grain produces male gametes, and the male gamete fuses with the egg to form zygote. This process is called syngamy. In animals, like in the human being, when the male discharges sperm inside the female reproductive tract, the sperm moves towards the fallopian tube, and fallopian tube is the site of the fertilization. After fertilization, the third heading is post-fertilization event. The post-fertilization event has two headings, that is zygote formation and embryo genesis. What do you mean by zygote formation? As you know, zygote is the fusion product of male and female gametes. These two gametes are fused together and it forms zygote. So zygote is always diploid in nature, and zygote develops into the embryo. This is the embryo stage. The process of the production of embryo from the zygote is called embryogenesis. During the process of embryogenesis, zygote undergoes into the mitosis division, or you can say mitotic division. It forms 2 cells, 4 cells, 8 cells, so many stages comes, and finally in the embryogenesis, the in the embryogenesis, the differentiation takes place and the body organs are formed. So that's all for today, and tomorrow I will start the next chapter, that is sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Thanks.